Hey everybody, it's Michael from DC Hidden Gems again, and today I'm bringing you Villa V Vibes #2. It's our second episode. Thank you so much for all the feedback that you gave us. We've gotten really positive feedback, so we're doing it again. I did want to mention that Chris is not on this series. He may come in occasionally because when I'm doing this, he's off editing all those videos. He does all the editing, and he has artistry and technology skills that I will never have. And that's what you see come to life on the videos. And I so appreciate him doing that. So while he's off doing that, which frankly takes a lot of work, I'm doing this. So we're going to go over a personal update. As usual, we're going to talk about a Villa V update. And today we're going to talk about the itinerary changes on Villa V, which is always a hot topic. And then we'll kind of look ahead. And those are our 3 regular Villa V topics. So getting started on the personal update, it's New Year. It's 25 and we're doing all our regular kind of planning, even though we're on the ship. So we're doing things like getting our budgets and our, money and stuff moved around and in place for the year. We're doing things like getting our doctor's appointments. Chris and I both had a skin cancer scare last year, and we've got to go back every 6 months for checkups because of those. So we're getting doctor's appointments done. I have glaucoma. That's something that runs in my family, and frankly, thankfully, we got it diagnosed early. So I have to take very special drops and get all these tests done regularly. I'm also 100% deaf in my left ear, so I'm telling you all my personal stuff here. So I have to go back for those kind of checks and that kind of stuff. So we're getting all of that set up for the year, which is really important. Obviously, as older you get, it gets even more important. We just had a 2-hour time change. So we went from Peru to Chile, and when they did that, Chile bumps up by 2 hours. So the ship was really great about it. At 8 o'clock, they said, okay, at 8 o'clock p.m., we're going to switch it. It's going to go to 10 o'clock p.m. So we didn't do it at 3 in the morning like they do in the U.S. They actually planned for and did it that way, which was okay. But I got to tell you, I missed those 2 hours a lot in terms of just going to sleep and my routine and all of that kind of stuff. But we're about worked through it. I think they handled it really nicely. Of course, Chile has their own time zone, and we're respecting that. So on the ship here, we were all kind of running around dealing with it, and we've made it through the most of that. It's warm here, and of course, it's really cold in Washington, D.C., where we're from. We have several viewers that are letting us know how things are going back in D.C., and it's cold. There's a lot of snow. The government was even closed down. So we are thinking about our folks up in D.C. Hello out there. We're not missing the weather, but we are missing you, and we hope everything goes up there. Stay warm because it's definitely cold up there. We're also missing some of the things we used to do in D.C. One of the things that we got to do was have a White House visit. We had a personal visit to the White House a couple of months ago, and that's an example of kind of the stuff you get to do when you're in DC and you know folks and that kind of thing. And our friend set us up with this awesome visit where we actually went at night and got to go all over the grounds, all over the White House, the executive building, and even in the Oval Office, which was a real treat. So those are the kind of things, obviously, that we don't get to do when we're down here doing this thing. And we're missing our DC folks, and we want to say hello and thank you, and you know who you are, to that special friend that got us in the White House. We are streaming, of course. We're here on Villa V, and we want to keep our shows going. We've just gotten into Baby Reindeer. I don't know, the whole world kind of knew about it, and I knew very little about it, but we've been starting to watch that. Really intriguing show, and we just got finished with the Golden Globes and saw all the winners there, and all the ones that also showed up and didn't win and did great jobs. So that's our personal update. Things are going well for us. We're staying busy. We're enjoying ourselves, and this kind of vibe and this life is still working for us. So that's the personal update. On the Villa V update today, I wanted to talk about the itinerary change. We actually had a question of the week from Bonita, thank you Bonita, that said, do you visit only one port a day like other cruises? And one port a day is not what we're doing. Villa V really has this 3.5-year circumnavigation of the world, and it generally involves many ports, of course, over that more than 1,000 days, and many times we're there for days at a time. So we're only not going in and coming out for a day or even an overnight. Sometimes we're there multiple nights, which really allows us to experience it in a very different way. We're not having to worry about getting off and on the ship as much. We're obviously here and can plan things like overnights and other things like that. And we really enjoy that. The other thing we're doing is we're going into a lot of the lesser known ports. We're not only going into kind of major cruise ports, which gets us closer to things that you may not normally do. So that is kind of the way we work. It's an awesome way to travel, but it also means you're doing a lot of coordination. You're planning out 1,000 days in advance, and there's a lot of moving pieces. So everybody pretty much that's probably watching this knows that Villa V had a kind of bumpy start. They had clear plans to leave in May of 24, and of course bumped into several issues with the refurbishment of the trip, which led to a series of delays in Belfast. And of course, everybody that's probably seeing this, if you don't know it, you'll research it pretty quickly, knows that they had a bumpy start. So that really fundamentally changed all the itinerary because it was months in the making. But that's in the past. So I'm not really here to talk about that today. I think there's a lot of lingering, fear and upset over that at times. But, my belief is that's in the past. But that does not mean itinerary changes are gone forever. Even though we're past the launch, we're still dealing with a lot of stuff in terms of moving pieces. And that means at times itinerary changes. So the big question is, why do these changes keep coming up? So today I want to talk about that a little bit and, kind of talk about it in general terms and from our perspective. Number one, there are logistical challenges, emphasizing the fact that we are going to be planning this thing for 1,000 days and thinking about all that in advance, just knowing there's going to be stuff that happens. Stuff could happen on the ship, stuff could happen on the port, stuff could happen on the seas, in the world, that kind of thing. So logistics just happens. So that happens on other cruises as well. You may not see it as much if you're on a 7 or 14 day, especially one with a very predictable journey and that goes to very kind of established cruise ports. But clearly for us, logistics stuff happens and it will continue to happen on this ship. If you don't think about all that's involved, it could easily say, hey, come on, why is all these itinerary changes? They keep saying one thing and doing another. But we clearly understand that this is not going to always go as planned, and that could be from logistics. You can't plan for everything going perfectly, and you just have to make calls. The captain, of course, is in charge of the ship, thankfully, and he and his team are the ones making those calls. The second thing is weather. I mean, we just had some crazy weather recently where they actually warned us that we would not be able to do things. And, it was kind of back and forth for a while, but weather happens. And of course, we want to be safe and we want to accommodate Mother Nature because obviously she's in charge, but weather happens. It definitely means, like this ship and everybody else, when weather comes, you got to go do the right thing. So logistics and weather. Third, political instability. We were just warned about one of the countries that we've recently visited, Ecuador, because there's some political stuff going on. And, clearly it's not a logistic issue. It's logistics issue or a weather issue, but it was, hey, is this the right place to be right now? And, we have to heed warnings. You have to get information, and then you have to respect, obviously, the captain and the leadership team's choices around that. But if stuff is happening in the world, you don't always want to necessarily go join the party, if you know what I mean. So, logistics, weather, political instability, and then you have the challenge of specific destinations. It's been announced that Villa V was planning to go to Antarctica on the trip that we're on right now, and that changed. Now, they've pushed it way down into the itinerary, and there are details forthcoming about that. But the bottom line is we were supposed to be going to Antarctica in the coming weeks, and we're no longer doing that. We are doing something different in terms of more time in Argentina and a variety of other things. But clearly there was an expectation that we were going to Antarctica, and then that is not happening right now. It will happen a couple of years from now, I think is the exact time frame, but we're not even sure of that yet, so don't quote me on that. So you step back and you say, well, hold on a minute. That's not logistical. That's not weather. That's not political. Didn't they know? And I I don't think they did. I don't think their intention was ever to say, hey, we're going to do one thing the whole time, knowing that they weren't going to do it. I think they had really good intentions of doing so. And then when it got down to getting it done in the time frame and in the resources and the priorities that we had, the choice was made to forego Antarctica now. There are other priorities, and we are working on other things. And of course, as we mentioned, this is a startup with all that goes into that. So the fact is, they changed Antarctica, and that is not a small deal. It's not that big a deal for us. We were just in Antarctica last year. We loved it, by the way. There's a video on that, so I hope you'll check that out. We absolutely adored Antarctica, and we're looking forward to go there again. But, you know, if you were a person that had booked a segment on this ship during this time and you're very much planning to go to Antarctica, that's a disappointment, and you have to acknowledge that. I don't think it was ever intentionally, misrepresented, but I do think things changed, and you got to kind of understand and roll with that. That is what happened. There's a lot that has to go into preparation for Antarctica, and I'm not going to get into that, but it involves, a lot of things that for a 3-day trip to Antarctica didn't get done and weren't going to get done, and were decided to reprioritize other things in lieu of that. And I think if you expect that to happen, it's a little easier to digest and kind of deal with than if you expect nothing to change. It's just not realistic. And I think, again, as we've said 100 times, it's not realistic with a startup company that's pioneering this way of doing things, that's going and doing different things different ways. Now, I do think Villa V is smoothing out. They're getting smarter. They're getting better. We're loving our time on this ship. We're rolling with it, as we've talked about, and I think they're getting smarter, and they're also looking ahead. Antarctica was a few weeks away. We're now looking ahead to American ports and Asia and all these other things, and they're really trying to get that done, along with continuing priorities like the air conditioners and the pools and that kind of stuff. Listen, that is part of the journey here. And so I want to make sure that, at least from my perspective and Chris's perspective, that y'all understand that's the way we see it and we understand it. And there's some things that are kind of uncontrollable, particularly, logistics, weather, political instability. And then there's things that may be less uncontrollable, but not totally controllable, like you intend to do one thing, something else happened, or we made a different decision or whatever. We're okay with it. I hope that makes sense. And that's something, like I said, that we have decided to embrace versus reject, because if you don't watch it, you'll be upset all the time. And I don't think that's the way to live. So that is what's going on. So what's up next is section 3. We've left Peru. We're into Chile. It's awesome. We loved it. Erika was particularly charming. I called it Erika as a joke because we watched the Beverly Hills Housewives sometimes, but I think it's called Erika. It was a charming city. I couldn't believe how big it was and how friendly the people were, and really clean, and we totally enjoyed it. We are having fun, and we are still continuing to settle in. And so as we look ahead, there's a lot more of cool itinerary coming that we're really currently planning for. We'll be sharing that with you. We really love the destination videos, like the one Chris is working on right now. And that's where our passion is. So hopefully you're going to see those, as well as stuff like these ship and Villa V updates. We did one recently on the Dominican Republic, actually, too, that we really recommend that you look at. Those are the things that really kind of define what we want to be about and the things that we care about. And in addition to stuff like today, it's kind of why we're doing this, for those experiences. So check those out. We have gotten so many financial questions also about owning a cabin that we have been working on a video that kind of goes into not specifics. Some of you ask a lot of questions, and we don't discuss financial specifics on the channel, like how much we paid for this or what that cost. We refer you to Villa V because, frankly, it changes a lot. There's a lot of variables in it, and we don't want to get in the middle of it, frankly. Hopefully that's respectable enough, but we don't want to be in the middle of people's financial stuff any more than we have to be. But we do think it's cool, and what we're putting together is a list of things to consider, financially speaking, if you're looking at a residential cruise. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for being here. As always, please give us feedback. Remember to hit notifications so you'll know what's coming up. And thank you so much for being here. Your feedback on Villa V Vibes and all you do for us really means a lot to us, and we appreciate it. See you. Bye.